Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ACT, Amanda's Cooking and Things. Today, I'm going to make meatloaf. Now, like I have said in my other video, I don't always measure, so this is going to be a let me show you how much I put, and I will show the camera so that you can see how much is in there, because I really don't measure this. But it is a very good meatloaf recipe. You're going to love it. So let's get started. I already have my oven preheating to 350 because I want it to be ready by the time I put it together. I'm going to make 2 loaves, so I'm doing about 2 pounds of meat. So if you want to cut this in half, you can. I, of course, like I've said before, I like to have extras, so I want to make sure that I have enough meatloaf for lunch and things like that, especially, you know, being stuck in the house. Don't really want to go out and expose myself, so I like to make sure I have enough stuff for lunch and not having to cook all the time. So we're going to first cut up the green onion. Or green pepper, sorry. I'm doing 1 green pepper. Again, I'd say I'm a master cutter, so don't judge, but this just needs to be cut up into small bite-sized pieces. Let me take out the middle. So you kind of just want to cut this up into little chunks. But what we're going to do once it's cut up, we're also going to do the same with an onion, and I'm actually going to put it in a smaller bowl because we're going to heat it up to kind of soften it just a little, not a whole lot. We don't want it to be hot, but we want it to be warm to the touch. So you just want to make sure that just gets cooked just a smidge, not too long, like I said. And this takes about an hour and a half to cook in the oven at 350. Like I said, I won't have too many directions, but I can at least tell you how long it needs to cook for and at what temperature. But the rest of it is kind of more of an eyeball. It's what you like. You know, if you don't like green peppers, you don't have to put green peppers in it. I like the flavor it gives, so that's why I like to add it. But if you don't want to add the green peppers, you don't have to. Again, it's what your preference is. Like I said, it's being the best cutter or the best, you know, what people remember is not what it looks like, but what it tastes like. So you learn with the more you cook what you like and don't like. I mean, I've found recipes online, and I'll know just by looking at the recipe what to omit and what to add based on what I like and what I tend to put in things. You know, I've said all the time, I like to, any opportunity I can to add mushrooms, I add mushrooms. Now for this, I don't add mushrooms. I mean, I could probably add mushrooms, but I'm actually most likely going to add, actually I need my mushrooms for something else I'm making later in the week, so I will not be using any mushrooms today. But I am also going to make, with this meatloaf, I'm going to be making some green beans, mashed potatoes, and gravy. And again, you don't have to always make everything from scratch. The gravy I'm using is from a jar. There's nothing wrong with that. It tastes just as great whether you make it from scratch or not. You know, if I feel like being spicy, I'll make it from scratch, but the jar does just fine, so you don't have to worry about it. And because I'm making 2 loaves is why I'm using the whole green pepper. If I was only going to make 1 loaf, I most likely would only use half of the green pepper. But because I am doing 2 loaves, I'm going to be using the whole pepper. But again, if you really like green peppers, you can add more. Again, it's what you like. Just because this is being made this way doesn't mean you can put your own spin, your own spice, your own whatever into it. I like to tell people when I try to make a new recipe, I tend to look at the things that I like in it and use it as a base and then make it my own. So it's like that was my oven. So it's like I kind of did my own spin on a recipe, you know, and there are times where I may try it exactly how it does and don't like how it turns out and say, oh, I should have done this instead. I just redo it, like, not that night, obviously. The next time I make it, I just go, okay, I'm gonna just add whatever I felt was missing. So now I'm gonna cut up the onion, and I'm gonna do the same thing, cutting it into small little chunks. I'm not a huge onion fan. Like, I will not eat raw onions. No, thank you. I know the value and the taste and the flavor that onions give to a recipe, so I will always put it in. I just sometimes when I'm following a recipe, when I'm trying something new, I will tend to not put as much, just to see if I can still have it become a successful dish, but also not have, you know, a huge onion flavor if it's supposed to have it. So it just depends. But again, for this, because of how much I'm making, I am going to I'm going to be doing the whole thing. So now again, I'm not the best cutter, so don't judge. The chunks are there. That's all that matters. As long as they're chunks and not huge, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. Because nobody's going to go, ooh, that doesn't look cubed enough, or that doesn't, like, nobody's saying that. They're, like I said before, people just care about the flavor. The flavor is what matters. I mean, obviously you don't want it to look ugly, because if it's not appealing and doesn't smell good, then nobody's going to even want to try it. But nobody's going to go, ooh, that should have been cubed a little more. It looks more like a sliver versus a cube. Like, nobody's doing that. They're more saying, oh my god, that smells so good. You know, especially when I make stuff in the Instapot, it starts, you know, smelling up the house. And, you know, if people come over, they're like, oh my god, what is that smell? It's my amazing cooking. What else would it be? I mean, come on. Look who you're talking to. Look at whose house you're coming into. Okay? So, I need to get another bowl to put this in. So I hope everybody's doing well. I know I haven't made a video in a while. I've been wanting to, but for those who know me, I have really bad migraines, and they've been acting up a lot lately, and so I haven't really felt, I mean, I've still been cooking, still gotta eat, but haven't really felt like in the mood for recording anything. I know people keep asking for certain recipes and things like that, but I just just really haven't, you know, felt up to it. But, you know, we finally figured out something that is helping, so, and I feel a whole lot better. So I will definitely be doing more videos. I'm going to do another one this week. I'm going to make a London broil, marinated in soy sauce and garlic and some seasonings. And then, so that's going to be delicious. I also have some bananas in the freezer to make some banana bread, since when I had made it last time I didn't feel well, and I didn't make a video. But that is a recipe that I got from my mom, gosh, forever and a day ago. But again, no measuring. Kind of just, I mean, I measure the flour. The flour, the most important part, that is measurable. And the time and the temperature. But other than that, everything else is kind of an eyeball. It looks a certain way, or some things that I make, it has to smell a certain way. And I know that it's done right. So, it's kind of how I do a lot of things. I do it based on smell, feel, look. And you know, that obviously does not happen overnight. But the more you cook and the more you practice, I mean, you will have failures. That's just a part of learning how to cook. But don't let that get you down. Just say, well, we'll try better next time. You know, just don't go burning water. Because my sister is famous for that. She, yeah. I definitely, out of me and my sisters, got the cooking gene more than everybody. So people tend to, I know there was one point where my sister was living with me, and I am sure she loved it for the part of the cooking, because I know she hates cooking. And she tries to do the most simplest things when she does cook for herself, just because she just hates cooking. And anytime, I know when she goes and sees my mom, she always will get her to give her some stuff to send home, because then that means that she can have a couple extra dinners and not have to cook. So, because she hates cooking. So, but I'm really excited because my sister, my youngest sister, is about to have a baby any day, a little girl. And so I'm hoping that me, the best aunt ever, is going to be able to pass down my cooking onto her, so that she can be as awesome as me. I mean, who wouldn't want to be like me? But I'm hoping to be able to teach her a lot of the things that I learned when I was cooking, learning to cook, and pass that down a generation. Because that was one of the things I did really enjoy doing with my mom is cooking. Let me rinse off my hands. I'll be right back. All right. So now, let's start putting this together. I'm gonna put the green peppers in first. I'm gonna put them in the microwave for probably about a minute. Again, you just want to get them a little bit warm, a little bit soft. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way. Ooh, that's my container. Okay, so I've got my hamburger meat in here. Now, I put, instead of breadcrumbs, I put oatmeal, old-fashioned oatmeal. I'm going to start with, let's just say about a cup. You kind of just pour it in there until it starts looking correct. So that's kind of what we're going to start with. We're also going to put 2 eggs in here to help. That's almost done. To help bind it. Okay, now I'm going to put the onion in. And the other egg in here. Like I said, super simple. Just throw the stuff in and then mold it on the thing, and then that's it. I mean, it's nothing fancy. Okay, so I'm going to pour the green pepper in there. I'm also going to put the seasoning, so I'm going to put some lemon pepper. And about a few shakes or so. I'll probably end up putting more, then some garlic powder. A few shakes of that as well. Garlic powder. And then some Lawry's seasoned salt. Another one of my favorite seasonings. A couple spritz of that. And then another secret ingredient. I'm going to pour the onions in here. Is ketchup. Heinz ketchup. And that's probably a squirt of that. Again, this is something I just kind of add, eyeball, as you can see, and then now I'm going to start mixing it up, and then if it doesn't look right, then I'll add more. This is the messier part, is the mixing, because really, I mean, you got to get your hands in here. How else are you going to mix it properly and evenly if you don't get your hands in there? You know, cooking, nobody ever said cooking was a clean thing. Alright, so I'm definitely going to need some more oatmeal. The only thing that does suck when you're doing something like this is now I'm going to have to wash my hands again so that I can be able to pour some more oatmeal in here. But that's okay. It is quite okay. So I'm going to kind of scrape my hands off as much as I can and then wash my hands real fast. Alright, so now, like I said, some more oatmeal. So about that much more. I'm also going to put some more ketchup, not a whole lot, just a little bit, and then some more seasoning. Some more lemon pepper, garlic, and seasoned salt. All right. So I'm trying just keeping it to one hand for mixing. Now again, you know, some people may look at this and think that it looks like a lot of onions and green peppers, but you have to understand too, when it cooks, that those are going to kind of shrink, you know, when it cooks down. So it may look like a lot right now, but it's really not going to be. And again, you don't have to put this much in. You can always put less. So it just depends on your preference and what you like. Because again, there's no perfect way to cook. You know, as long as it tastes good, then you've cooked it perfectly. So this is what it will look like. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put it on a pan and then put more ketchup on top, like a crust, almost. So I'm trying to move some of this stuff out of the way so I can bring my cookie sheet over here. Now what I'm going to do is take this, and what I kind of do is just kind of split it in half so that I can try and make two evenly molded, almost like footballs, loaves. So, and you want to try to make sure that they're the same height, the same width, so that they cook evenly the same. So I just try to like make them football shape. I mean, and then I usually flatten the top a little bit, just so that when I put the ketchup, it doesn't run, you know, all the way down the side. So I try to flatten it just a little bit on the top. Once I'm done, I will show you what it looks like, so you can see. And then I will, yeah, hold on one second. Let me wash my hands again. Gotta make sure I got clean hands to touch these things. All right. Now, I'm gonna put the ketchup on it first before I show you guys what it looks like. And this is another thing that if you don't want to put, you know, as much ketchup, you need to put something on top. But I know some people like to use tomato sauce. I preferably like to put ketchup. All right. Let me show you so that you can see my two perfectly little footballs here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in the oven at 350 for an hour and a half. As you can see, there they go in the oven. And let's do an hour and a half. All right, so I'll be back once this is right before this is done, because then I'm gonna do the potatoes and all of that other stuff. So I'll be back when it's time for that. All right, see you guys soon. All right, we're back. The meatloaf is done. As you can see right here, it's cooling. The potatoes are done, and I'm going to show you how I make my mashed potatoes. I preferably like my mashed potatoes creamy, but if you like it chunky, obviously you can make your potatoes how you preferably like. But I, like I said, like my potatoes very creamy. So I'm going to add some butter. I actually use, I can't believe it's not butter. To me it tastes just like butter, but it's not real butter, so it's a little bit healthier. I'm gonna put a couple, I would say a couple tablespoons of that in there. And like I said, I like mine to be creamy, so I add some milk. I do skim milk because I am not a whole milk type of gal. So I'm going to use my pink mixer but if you have a potato masher, which I do, but like I said, I like mine to be creamy, so I use this versus a masher. But you can use a masher if you don't have one of these or whatever. I've even had to, because I've been cooking at other people's houses, I have used a fork to mash potatoes before, so you can pretty much use anything. I'm gonna go ahead and mash this, and then once I get it started to blend up, I'm gonna add the seasoning to it once it starts creaming a little bit. And like I said, I like mine really creamy. I don't really like chunks in it. So I'm going to, just like the meatloaf, I'm going to put lemon pepper, a little garlic powder, and some seasoned salt. And then mix that up. Always want to make sure, especially with potatoes, that you're trying it to see if it's got enough seasoning, if it needs more butter, more milk, whatever. You just want to test it. It's a little hot though. I think it needs just a little more butter. So I'm gonna put just a little bit more. Let's move this so you can see. See? Like I said, I like mine really creamy. It's really your preference of what you like. As far as your potatoes, there's no real wrong way. Some people like skins, I don't. Good, good, good. Alright, so now I'm gonna plate it up and show you what the whole dish looks like. Just give me 1 second. Grab a plate. I'm gonna scoop out some potatoes here. And then I'm going to cut a piece. Now, I preferably do not like the end piece. My mother likes the end piece. So I usually will cut off a little chunk of the end and then cut my piece after that. I'm a little hungry today, so I'm going to cut myself 2 pieces here. Of course, it's not really cooperating, but that's okay. It still tastes good, so that's all that matters. delicious. Alright, so now I'm going to get the green beans, pour some green beans on here. I did steamed green beans. I preferably like steamed green beans versus canned green beans. I feel like it gives it a little bit of a bite. And like I said, brown gravy in a jar. So I like gravy on all of my stuff. So I put gravy on my meatloaf, I put gravy on my green beans and my potatoes. I also like to put a little extra ketchup on my meatloaf as well. So what I do is I just sprinkle a little ketchup on top of the meatloaf, and then I put the gravy over the top of it. And then, like I said, I like gravy on my green beans and on my mashed potatoes. Show you here. Look at how awesome that looks. And I am actually, oh, I got a fork right here. Gonna take a bite. Here. I like to see people eat their food, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a bite, as you can see. So good. Cooked perfectly. Let's get some potato here. And the meatloaf is good. The next day, if you want to eat it cold, you can put it on a sandwich with a little gravy on some bread. Oh my god, it's so good. And it was super easy. Super easy to make. Throw it together. Boom. Done. And it's so good. So good. Well, I'm going to finish this. But that's all for the day for Amanda's cooking and things. Have a good night, everyone.